no matter what they are. At this point, it is a communal duty, a patriotic duty, to gird our loins, to hug each other, to prepare and rescue this nation. And rescue this nation and put it back in the hands of one who is experienced. Experience is important. Where we are today, we need a master driver. We don't need a mate. We need an experienced hand. Someone who has been there. Remember, he told Nana Akuffo Addo and Dr. Bawumia that you have never been president. You don't know what it takes. He understands it. He saw the problems when he was there. And he was able to guide the ship to the shore. Unfortunately, these people have wrecked that ship. And maybe if he was like some of us, he would have said, I have nothing more to do. After all, today, if he decides not to be president again, he will forever be treated like a president. He will forever live like a president, because presidents retire on their conditions of service. But he says that this country needs saving, and his experience is at hand. He's willing. And he has just at least talked about, like they say, Rastaman throw one stone. Rastaman throw one stone. Just one policy announcement, and the NPP was scattered. 24-hour economy.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
You were till for a PENDREAM TV in Pacho. When you say the news not all from an eddy bro. News say Obabeti in Pacho, so what when one drink Trebia and so what drink Trefa. News be I present your platform where you saw for your voice note not for sending it. I was 0277 128 777. The debate 2 PENDREAM FM so Magana for you not young court and a story eddy bro.
Honorable Alhasan Suhuyini, our other host. Of course, if you just join us, the Mother of All Talk Shows, Elijah and Elijah. We are talking about national situation from two perspectives, the political situation and the national economy. Comrade took us on quite a journey. That's what he does. He usually takes you through a journey from history to economics, through politics. When he's done, you learn something new.
Right. Sana, thank you very much for the opportunity, and let me welcome you and the crew of Pan-African TV and Alhaji to the capital of the northern region, the beautiful city, the energetic, enthusiastic city of Tamale. It's our pleasure to host Alhaji today. And let me make a passionate appeal to our young men and women out there, especially those who may be watching or listening to us in town, to make the effort to come to the Pekona Gardens, where they can have the opportunity to witness this happen live. I mean, there's nothing like having that live interaction. I can imagine the sort of inspiration one gets meeting people you have always listened to or watched on TV for the first time. And so it is an opportunity that should not be missed by any young man or young lady out there who is listening to us and is within the presence of Tamale. It's happening live now at the Pekona Gardens, and it will be great to interact with you all when you come, even after this show. I will stand on the earlier protocols that my big brother and member of parliament for Tamale Central opened with, and that is the deepest and sincerest respect to our chiefs as he acknowledged them, and our opinion leaders who are also gathered here to support today's program. Let me also acknowledge senior comrade Uncle Kwesi Pratt and the member of parliament for Tamale Central, Ibrahim Mohamed Mutala. Solo belongs to the butterfly movement now, and our big sister Joyce Bawa Mukhtar. Now, yes, I agree with you, Senna, when you say that the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central has taken us through quite a journey. And I will say he took us through the political classroom. And in order not to go through a revision of the notes that he delivered, I will take us to the political platform. So from the political classroom, it is important that we go to the political platform. Now, I am also a trained teacher. So I know that you teach from L1 to L2. Those of you who didn't go to training college, that's your wahala. You know what L1 to L2 means. But yes, you need to teach from the knowledge that no brain is empty. I mean, any person you meet has some level of knowledge. So when you are going to teach a person, you have to identify what the person knows. And then you build upon what the person knows. So in teaching, we are taught L1 is language 1 and L2 is language 2. So that is why at our basic or kindergarten level, teachers are encouraged to teach with the local language, because the child would have come from the house with some understanding in local dialect. So you teach from that understanding. If you are going to teach a broom, you just don't start teaching him broom in English. You first of all understand how do they call broom at home. And then when you know what they call broom at home, you now can teach broom in English. So I'll take it from L1 to L2, from the classroom, political classroom, to the political platform. So what do we mean when we talk about the politics of a nation? Comrade Mutala has done a fantastic job on it. But let me just say that the basic document, political document of any state is its constitution. It's its constitution. Now, the constitution guarantees the separation of powers. That is where you have the legislature, you have the judiciary, and then you have the executive. Now, in the context of Ghana, we are faced with a very, very serious threat. Our political document, which is the Constitution, is about 30 years old today. We started this democratic experiment when we queued in a referendum to vote and to approve the 1992 Constitution. That ushered in the political election cycle. Now, this document created a number of institutions. And like I said, those institutions were to be checks on each other. I don't know how many of us have heard recently, or of late, very often, our young people begin to question if the democracy has served us any better. You come across young people who are no longer interested in the thing called politics. In fact, you meet students who graduate from the tertiary institutions and they don't even know who the Minister of Education is, because they don't want to care. And why? It's because they are consistently losing confidence in that democratic system. The danger, the more, is that they do not know how the alternative is. They are too young to know what the alternative is. But they are conscientized enough to begin to feel that the democracy is not yielding the desired dividends. I mean, I was born before the Fourth Republic, but I started perhaps understanding governance and community mobilization in the Fourth Republic. But at least I saw the semblance of military rule, even though I was not that mature, but I saw military rule. So when they talk of the effects and advantages, disadvantages of military rule, I can relate. But my younger brothers, my younger sisters, who are gradually losing confidence in the democracy, cannot relate to the alternative. And so for them, if we are not careful, they may just one day, very soon, choose to embrace that alternative. Because I can relate, and maybe my generation can relate to military rule, even as we criticize the democratic system for not delivering to its optimal level, we still are able to appreciate that it is better than the alternative. But they don't have that comparison because they didn't experience military rule. And so it will become increasingly difficult as we move forward if we are not careful to convince the generations that will come after us that the defects of this democracy is still serving them better than a military government would have served them. And that is why I say we are faced with a very serious threat as a country. And this threat has been made real by the misgovernance of the government in office. The palpable misgovernance. Remember, I spoke about the fact that a country's main, if you like, main political document is the Constitution. The Constitution is to guarantee the separation of powers. And the separation of powers, you know, is seen in or manifested in the operations that we encounter when we access judicial service, the legislature, and then the executive. Now, this government worked so consciously, but very incompetently, to corrupt the executive. First, what he did as president in 2017 was to appoint an unprecedented number of people as ministers. Over 120 ministers, never seen before in the Fourth Republic. Now, what they say is true, that when a fish is getting rotten, it starts from the head. What this overpopulation of the ministries did was that it dovetailed into the overpopulation of our state institutions. So you go to GMPT, you go to Cocoa Board, you go to BOST, even though those institutions are beginning to run at a loss, their staff sizes have doubled. And so productivity at those places have come down. And remember, I said that the Constitution created these institutions to help propel growth of the country. But when you corrupt those institutions, like President Akuffo Addo and Dr. Bawumia did in the first year when they overpopulated the ministries, which led to the overpopulation of the institutions, you will agree with me that when you take Kparba, as we call it here in Tamale, Kparba, to a farm, that's by day workers to your farm. If you have 1 acre of land and you take 20 Kparba to the land, the productivity you will get will be less than if you took 5 or 6. Ally? It is common sense that the more people you put to do work, the higher the numbers, the less productivity you get, especially when the workload is that low. But the president told us he was in a hurry, and so he overpopulated these ministries, and then also led to the overpopulation of these institutions, which has resulted in the low productivity, which is seen in the economic numbers that we are posting. Now, for the first time, you have civil servants, CLOSAC and others, actually organizing press conferences to say that the civil service and the public service is corrupt or overpopulated, and that their work have been taken over by political apparatchiks of the ministers and the political appointees at the various institutions. We have not experienced that in the Fourth Republic before. We have never had a situation where the institutions are so tainted to the point that these people who are supposed to be non-partisan will cry out that their jobs are being taken by politicians. We've never seen it. In fact, worse is that you have a situation where the person who is responsible for paying you and I, the Controller and Accountant General, is now even allowed to run for a political office, and he's allowed to still be at post. I mean, these are the things that are done to further corrupt the political institution, which will eventually contribute to the loss in confidence that people are already having in the democracy. Because almost every, if you like, ethic in our democracy has been broken by the President Akuffo Addo and Dr. Bawumia government. Things that politicians were shy to do, even if they were sure they would not be found out, but they were shy to do it, they are not shy. In fact, on our way here, I was telling Comrade Gwesi Prad and Solu the number of lands that were for the West Hospital, which has been annexed by people in political office, and they are not even using pseudonyms. They are using their personal names. That's how arrogant that the power that they are enjoying have made them to begin to feel. They are corrupting almost every state agency. Look, you have a situation where the Constitution created an Auditor General's office. Now, this Auditor General's office is supposed to put politicians in check when it comes to expenditure. For example, how they utilize the taxpayers' money. So the Auditor General audits government finances and makes recommendations and even demand paybacks where necessary. President Mahama appointed a gentleman that everybody believed was a man of his own, a very committed patron. This man, Mr. Dumoulin, began work and was impressing everybody in this country by the way he carried out audits, making sure that even timelines that were missed in the past by the audit service were now all being met. But what happened? He dared to touch one of the favorites of President Akuffo Addo. That is the senior minister, Honorable Osofo Mafo, when he investigated a deal that his office was supposed to have been in charge of, the Kroll deal. And what happened to him? He was forced to go on leave. In fact, in a very, very arrogant manner. So that's why I'm saying that things that politicians were even shy to do, these people do it with a certain level of arrogance. If you look at the way Dumoulin was sacked, it buttresses this point that I make. Only for the Supreme Court to belatedly come out to tell us that the president acted against the Constitution but has no consequences to suffer. That is how people begin to lose confidence in a democracy. When independent state institutions created by the Constitution and supported by law can no longer exercise their rights to guarantee the separation of powers and to, ensure that people have confidence in the democracy, people will begin to lose confidence, and that is how the democracy becomes threatened. That's just one. Dumoulin is one. you would have considered it an isolated case and said, okay, every government have infractions. And so maybe this is an isolated case. I give you another one. He himself and his government decided that in order to continue with the lie that they told the people of Ghana about their commitment to fight corruption, they were going to set up an office known as the Special Prosecutor's Office. Office of the Special Prosecutor. He set it up. He appointed one of the people he himself believes is an independent-minded person. A no-nonsense person. That's what he told us when he was appointing him. And that no one can control him. And that he is a patriot. That's what the president told us. It doesn't matter how you and I feel. But he decided that this was the man to help him prosecute corruption. Then Martin Amidou is that man. And Martin Amidou was appointed. A few months down the line, what were we told? Martin Amidou, just like Dumoulin, perhaps made a mistake by touching one of the president's favorites again. This time, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. And that was the end of the marriage between him and Martin Amidou. And Martin Amidou didn't just stop there. He came out and he told us, like we are often told during the outdooring of children in the South, that he has tasted water and he has tasted alcohol. And so he knows the difference. Because according to Martin Amidou, I have seen corruption in NDC and I have seen corruption in MPP. But this man in MPP is the mother serpent of corruption. I mean, clearly, that is how people lose confidence in a democracy. Because when you ride on a campaign to fight corruption, and then you continue with that ride by setting up an office that you hope to use to set up to fight corruption, and then that person who occupies it, you projected him as an independent-minded person. And when that person, just like the Auditor General, touches your favorite, he loses favor with you. Then it further, gives credence to the reason why people begin to feel that the democracy is not serving their interests. Okay, if you say Domlevo, it is, what do you call it? Perhaps an accident. Then you say, what's his name? Martin Amidou. Okay, it's coincidence. Should I give you a third one? Kisi Ejabin. Then Kisi Ejabin comes to take over from Martin Amidou. And anybody who knows Kisi Ejabin knows his relationships in this country. And so clearly, just like Martin Amidou, Kisi Ejabin was not expected to be a friend of the opposition. But Kisi Ejabin also comes into office. And just like Dumulevo, just like Martin Amidou, his mistake too is that he touched the president darling, the sweetheart, Cecilia Dapa. You all saw the letters that they both exchanged. When Madame Cecilia Dapa matter came out, did you read the letters? The letters Madame Cecilia Dapa wrote, and the one the president wrote back. The sweetheart letters. My darling Mr. President. And then the president says, don't worry, I have confidence in you, Madame Cecilia Dapa, and I know you will be exonerated. And Kisi Ejabin dares the president to go and investigate his sweetheart. Why is he surprised that he is faced with the obstacles that he is faced with? He should have learned from Domlevo. And maybe he should have learned from Martin Amidou that this president, when you touch his favorites, you will become, what's the name? What's the name? My tree is very bad. Ankwa Noma. Yes. When you touch the president's favorite, you become Ankwa Noma. Because that's what Kisi Ejabin has told us he has become. But don't forget that even Martin Amidou, when he was also about to resign, also told us that he felt his life was in danger. And that with the passing of Jerry Rawlings, he did not have anywhere to hide again. So it was better for him to leave. So when you corrupt or act in ways that, suggests actively to the people that you do not mean what you say, and that you are not committed to strengthening institutions of state that are set up to make democracy, serve the people, you endanger the democracy. You endanger the democracy. And that is why I started by saying that we are faced with an existential threat as a country with this administration in office. And that is why the NDC's tagline is not just a political tagline. It's a patriotic call to duty to rescue this nation. Because this nation requires rescuing. The state capture is so palpable. I am talking, or have been talking for a while now, only about the pollution in the executive. I have not even gone into the corruption in the judiciary. And that is why the country needs rescuing. Because we all are aware today, and research has confirmed it, that the judiciary is not living up to its expectation. It's one of the most corrupt institutions, one of the most politically manipulated institutions. I'm not just saying it based on political, expediency. I'm saying it based also on research that has been conducted by researchers, that it is politically manipulated. Even if you cannot read the research, can't you see again that the courts are being populated by people who are affiliated to the New Patriotic Party? Not just affiliated, in fact, members. Because if you talk about affiliation, you can expect some level of independence and impartiality from them when cases appear before them. But we are talking about card-bearing members. Never done before. I mean, in the past, President Mahama was criticized for appointing an active political person. Not because the person was from his party. The person had served in another party, had worked actively in PNC, but not in NDC. And so President Mahama appointed that person to the bench. And Nana Akuffo Addo and his cousins, Gabi leading the charge, criticized President Mahama for appointing someone who had done active politics onto the bench. But look at what they have done. They have actually appointed a former chairman of the New Patriotic Party in a constituency in the Volta region to the Supreme Court. That person was not only a former chairman. From chairman, he rose to become a parliamentary candidate of the MPP. And Nana Akuffo Addo, together with Gabi, who criticized, appointment of politically active people in the past, today see nothing wrong with appointing their own party member onto the bench. And look at the swearing-ins that are done on a daily basis. Supreme Court, Appeals Court, Court of whatever. They are packing the courts up. And maybe it's because they know what they have done. And they want to avoid accountability. But let me serve this notice that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, working with a team of crack brains that put together this constitution, will not only be rescuing this country, but will also ensure that from 2025, people will account for all their misdeeds and their corrupt activities. No matter how they pack the courts, they will still not get away with the loot. They will still not get away with the, destruction that has been caused by their misgovernance. That I can guarantee you. After all, why? The NDC crafted the constitution. They put the constitution together. The NDC, through the People's Tribunal, have done it before. And anybody who studies the constitution properly will tell you that the court systems as we have it now are not the only way that you can find justice for the people. And I am giving you an assurance, without going into the details, that no matter how they pack the courts, the NDC from 2025 will find a way legally acceptable, constitutionally endorsed, to get them to account for every misdeed and every misgovernance. Because the people of Ghana deserve that. The people of Ghana, if for nothing at all, deserve to see people being held accountable for the pain and suffering that they have been put through in the last 7 years. Forget about the disappointment. Because for me, even when I criticized President Akuffo Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia in the past, and when I was so convinced that they could not govern better than President Mahama, I didn't expect them to fail as remarkably as they have failed. And that is, I'm sure, one of the reasons why their own people are beginning to dissociate themselves and shun them and run away from them. I mean, who didn't hear Professor Stephen Adai before the 2016 general elections? What song is he singing today? What song is he singing today? And many of his type are beginning to even be shocked at their level of incompetence and non-performance. So, if for nothing at all, the pain, the unprecedented level of destruction that they have done to this nation, we should make them pay for it. Look, Comrade Mutala touched a little on the economy. Look at the economic indicators. And you see, they behave like the spoiled child who inherited wealth when they came into office. You know, the most difficult period for those of us in the north who are used to farming practices is this season. The most difficult period in farming is this season, the land preparation season. This is the dry season. So even when you get up now and you are going to the farm, people are wondering why you are going to the farm. But if you don't go now, when the rain starts, you will not know where to go. Ally? Yes. So President Mahama, when he was in office, did that land preparation. We were faced with an energy crisis. An energy crisis that Jerry Rawlings was faced with. An energy crisis that President Kufuor was faced with. And that is why he brought in the toy generators. You remember, Wureku Bobke called them toy generators. An energy crisis that President Mills was faced with. An energy crisis that got worse because of consistent neglect to that sector under President Mahama. Being the responsible leader that he is, he did not manage the problem like his predecessors did. He made a pledge to the people of Ghana to fix the problem. And the problem was three, layers. You had the financial problem, you had the fuel problem, and then you had the generation deficit. He set out to bring in power generators, the car power, the Ameri, and others, and to fast-track others on board to fix the generation problem. Then the financial problem. In an election year, even when it was a threat to his re-election, he recognized that leaders don't take pleasant decisions. They take decisions that fruits are felt later by people. He passed the ESLA levy, which was to bring in the funds needed to keep the lights on and to pay the legacy debts and to bring about more investments into the power sector. That's how he solved the financial problem. Then he fast-tracked the construction of Ghana Gas, which has led to the, cutting down of the importation of gas to power our generators. So he solved the fuel problem with the fast-tracking of Ghana Gas, which made our own gas available to us at a cheaper cost. Passed the energy sector levy to solve the financial problem, and brought in the generators to solve the, generation problem. And that put the country now on the pedestal of growth. So around that time, World Economic Analysts predicted that given the work that President Mahama and his team had done in 2016, that the economy was going to grow by about 9% in 2017. And I'm telling you about what I mean when I say they behave like the spoiled child that inherited wealth. So given the hard work President Mahama did, and Comrade Mutala also spoke about the import levy, the importation of sugar, tomatoes, and poultry products. President Mahama at the time identified again that we're importing sugar. We're using about $300 million a year to import sugar. And he said that was having an impact on our exchange rate. Because if we could conserve $300 million in this country, we will not need that to bring in sugar. So in order to solve that problem, a thinker that he was, the visionary that he was, he set out to set up the Commander Sugar Factory. And the Commander Sugar Factory would have ensured, just like the Ghana Gas, that we would have produced our own sugar, would have saved hard-earned foreign currency. So they came to inherit all of this. And so by 2017-2018, they were, like I said, behaving like the child who inherited wealth that the parents left behind. They did not know the hard work that went into the creation of that wealth. So 2017, Ghana's economy grows by 8%. This is your kind of puzurna zongo kachi kachel na antanye to abiakatanga. Ma yangnem na kwendirma kalara. Shepu bendira kwa santlam payuna. Kababang anji wahala jilena. Is that not correct? Yes. So when they came in 2017, without doing any work, by just sitting in the office, the Ghana's economy, like the analysts predicted in 2016, grew by about 8%. They said, we are the best managers of the economy. 2018, it was still growing because Kambongma Dana Kupalme. I'm speaking in Tamale. So if you don't know Kambong, I'm sorry. So by 2019, Kambongma Karapili Swasibu. So you saw that the growth started growing down. By the time they realized that it was not about having kenke and fish parties, but it was about hard work, all the indicators were pointing in the wrong direction. And then COVID, unfortunately, came to make it worse. But somehow, they also got their salvation in COVID. They now started hiding their incompetence, their mismanagement, their laziness in COVID. And instead of using even that opportunity to sit up and begin to work hard, they rather saw it as an opportunity to loot and to steal the people's money. I am not the one saying it. The Auditor General report is saying it. That COVID was an opportunity to loot the state coffers. COVID actually came with more advantages in terms of the economy, not health-wise, than especially economy of the state. Maybe individual economies were impacted, but the economy of the state was positively impacted. Because the level of funds that came from the World Bank, from the IMF, from, Bretton Woods, all the institutions, we could not have even raised that locally. We couldn't have. Thank you. We could not have raised that locally if we didn't have COVID. But what did they do with it? They blew it. I'm sure that's part of the money that was found under the bed of Madam Cicely Adapa. I'm sure it's part of it. I'm sure it's part of it. Because you remember that those ministries were in charge of some spraying of markets and then some desilting that were not done, but monies were paid. And as if the stealing of that money was not enough, they burden us by introducing COVID tax. We have never paid malaria tax, so just imagine. We've never paid HIV tax. But for the first time, a government that steals our COVID money has actually seen the need to make us pay COVID tax and then sanitation tax. I mean, that level of mismanagement, that level of misgovernance cannot go unpunished. And that, again, is the reason why we all have to put our differences aside. No matter what they are, at this point, it is a communal duty, a patriotic duty, to gird our loins, to hug each other, to prepare and rescue this nation. And rescue this nation and put it back in the hands of one who is experienced. Experience is important. Where we are today, we need a master driver. We don't need a mate. We need an experienced hand. Someone who has been there. Remember, he told Nana Akuffo Addo and Dr. Bawumia that you have never been president. You don't know what it takes. He understands it. He saw the problems when he was there. And he was able to guide the ship to the shore. Unfortunately, these people have wrecked that ship. And maybe if he was like some of us, he would have said, I have nothing more to do. After all, today, if he decides not to be president again, he will forever be treated like a president. He will forever live like a president, because presidents retire on their conditions of service. But he says that this country needs saving, and his experience is at hand. He's willing. And he has just at least talked about, like they say, Rastaman throw one stone. Rastaman throw one stone. Just one policy announcement and the NPP was scattered. 24-hour economy. And trust me, you see, the level of work that this country has to do to get back on track, we cannot do it working 8 hours.
Please, you have to end it for me.
Let's be sincere. Thank you, Senna. The level of work that is required, because the destruction has been so dire, it has been so deep, that if we are going to continue to do things as usual, we will not be able to recover in the next 10 years. Again, it is not me saying it, it is what the experts say. The experts, without knowing about the 24-hour economy, have predicted that for Ghana to get back to pre-COVID days, will need more than 10 years. That's what they have predicted. The IMF have said so. So, President Mahama, being the visionary, says that we can reduce the number of years required to get back to pre-COVID days if we work 24 hours. And so forget about all the things that will be said to detract you from the core message of getting this country to work 24 hours to clean the mess that these people have created and support the rescue agenda that will ensure that we all build the Ghana that we want, the Ghana that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. And of course, if you're just joining us, the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live from, Suhuyini, you said it's Picona Gardens? Yes. We are live from Picona Gardens here at the Picona Hotel, where we are bringing you a live coverage of Alhaji and Alhaji, the last of the year.
Story OTCC no a platform my friend PENDREAM TV and I OT story no na feedback we hear and story our tie no any story be our platform no so be our tie o pese o my feedback no fafa WhatsApp message or WhatsApp number 0277128777 na yebebo e wo PENDREAM FM Ghana for nyina ate won ka
David Kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase na so far so good say open online portal e wo Ghana nipa share nipa follow nipa comment here to my best of knowledge without any biases PENDREAM TV